You're not supposed to bring things back from on the plane from people you don't trust.
No, I trust this guy. He was born in Gloucester, where I was born. About the same time I was.
Oh, Alicia wrote me back.
All right, we're less than 1 minute. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording now.
She said laugh out loud, okay. You're off.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Why'd everybody get quiet? And I don't need to unmute anything on here. Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. It is 7 p.m. It is Monday, February 13th, 2023. This is a special meeting for the City Council of Woodland. If I can please make sure that all your cell phones are silenced and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Am I supposed to start this camera and microphone?
Are we supposed to start anything?
Yeah, so you need to turn your mic and your camera on. On this one.
There we go. Oh, there you are.
Camera if you want to see.
Okay, I don't need to see myself. All right, go ahead and take the roll, please.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Burke,
Here.
Councilmember Rounds,
Here.
Councilmember Holland,
Present.
Councilmember Dowdy.
Here.
All right, this time I would ask for a motion or changes to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Burke, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Please take the roll, Ms. Hogan.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Awesome. All council members are here in point four. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick rundown of what to expect this evening during this special meeting. And here in a few moments, I'm going to ask that the 4 candidates that we have that have applied to sit on City Council will ask to leave the room and wait out in the hallway. And you will be individually called in one by one. A series of questions, which I believe you've all been given a copy of, will be asked in the same exact order in the same exact way. It will be a random draw on who goes first. And as we go through this process, I'll come out and grab one candidate, you'll answer your questions, and you'll go back out to the hallway while we bring in the other one. Once we're done with the 4 candidates and the questions have all been answered, the 4 candidates will be able to come back into the room. City Council will then go into an executive session and discuss qualifications of each candidate, and then come out and hopefully take action, and someone will be selected. So with that, at this time, I've got 4 candidates that are here. If I can get you to depart the room out into the hallway, and we will get started.
I don't think so. He made sure this was turned off. Stream it on YouTube.
Hmm?
We're going to stream
I
it
know,
on
I know.
YouTube.
All right, City Council, you have your questions in front of you this evening on your packet. I'll get to questions here in just one moment here. And then Mr. Smith, or I guess we could start with Councilmember Burke if there's no objection, and we'll just go one by one down the line. So question
that's
1,
good.
question 2, question 3, and then so on until we have finished up with question number 12. Mr. Burke, you have a question?
No question. Well, the only question I have, we're going to draw their names.
Yeah, I've got that right here.
No question.
Any other questions before we bring in the first candidate? Okay. Mr. Douglas. Are you ready? Come right up to the podium, all right? And pronounce your last name for me, because I don't want to screw it up. Frymark. Douglas Frymark. All right. Senior. Yes, sir. Thank you.
There's a junior, and he's as old as some of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
make sure you're comfortable and the mic is at a good level so we can hear you and get you on the record. Before we get started, the way this is going to work, you'll basically get a round robin of questions. We're going to start with Councilmember Burke, and we'll just go through. There are 12 questions, and I will have question number 13, which will be final. The final question before we send you out of the room and bring in the next candidate. All right?
Good enough.
All right,
Can
Mr.
you
Burke.
guys hear me okay?
Tell us about your previous public service to the Woodland community, and have you ever attended a council meeting before?
I have attended council meetings before at several cities. Here recently, a couple months ago. I'm a current board member of the Association of Homeowners at Woodland East Community, Manufactured Home Park, 55 plus over there, and a current board director for the state association, AMHO, the Association of Homeowners for Manufactured Park Owners that represent the entire state of Washington.
Are there any issues that are of particular interest to you, and what do you hope to accomplish during this appointed term as a council member?
Good question. I have a whole packet here of the news articles from the Daily News for the last 2 years that I recently consumed. Very interesting reading. Many questions, and you guys have had a difficult role for the last couple of years. Some controversy, difficult solutions to arrive at. The city water system, I share Will's concern. Its state of repair and the rates for our citizens is important to me. The situation at Exit 21, of course. So if I had to pick one, city water system, you know, that's our lifeblood. Water's our lifeblood currently. And in the future, I want to maintain the city of Woodland as a safe environment from crime and from the usual downsides of small city growth into something bigger, sprawl, and the less living environment that comes with uncontrolled, unreasoned growth. Council Member Holland, did I hope answer your question, I hope?
City council members must attend numerous meetings and keep up with multiple issues. Council meetings typically start at 7 p.m. on the first and third Monday of each month, and committee meetings are prior to the city council meetings, and they can start anywhere between 5 and 6 p.m. Are you able to commit this amount of time and arrange your schedule to participate fully as a member of the city council? And if so, explain how you will handle the demands of the job.
Yes, I can. My day job, similar to some others that work outside of retirement, is I'm the National Senior Director of IT Security Operations for Prospect Medical Holdings, 55 hospitals nationwide. I usually work from 7 a.m. to about 1 or 2 in the afternoon online, travel 1 or 2 weeks a year at my convenience. I schedule around what other commitments I have. And I don't anticipate that changing any too soon. Not fortunate enough to be independently wealthy just yet.
Okay, thank you.
Do you intend to file for a council position in the next regular election?
The answer is yes.
What is the role of an individual Woodland City Council member?
Well, I got a few things down there, guys. This is a short answer. It's more complicated than just those. Besides attending meetings, being a good representative of the council to the community, answering appropriate questions at the right time when the public tries to interface with you, creating new policies, addressing old ones, and revisiting them is an important part of the council. But to me, assisting with city assets and finance and governance and one thing is just part of the job. The most important thing a council member can do, councilman or councilwoman, is develop trust in the community that what you represent turns out to be what their expectations are. They need to trust the council first and foremost, the mayor and all the city employees. But the council is the one that determines the future directions. That's why it's an elected position, and should be. The faith and the trust, and minimizing the division within a council is terribly important to me. Some things that need to be totally transparent to the public, other things you need to discuss behind closed doors in an appropriate setting with intelligent people sitting down trying to answer and address the problems of the day, whatever they might be. That's the most important thing I think council folks do everywhere in the country.
It's you.
Oh, back to me.
Mr. Burke.
Okay.
Number 6.
Number 6, right? Do you have any experience in public finance and reviewing, implementing, or tracking budgets?
Well, not in public finance, but I got a lot in private industry. You see my resume there. Over 50 years of experience at all levels of management. I currently control a yearly budget of a little over $4 million and some 120 plus employees for Prospect Medical Holdings. My job depends on it. So, and I've owned several small businesses as a principal, sole proprietor in it. I would say I got a good handle on finances in general. I hope so. I have to check with my wife and see how.
So there are many situations where people disagree on issues. How do you handle disagreements and bring them to closure?
Excellent question. My bachelor's degree is in psychology. Gave me a good start in understanding interpersonal relationships. You know, it's something we all do, and the more supervisory responsibilities they have, the more difficult it becomes sometimes, and you have to make critical decisions, sometimes very important to people. So, like I say on my little wording there, and that's the short version of it, that's how you approach it. You got to approach it openly and honestly, with real interest and intent to do the right thing, keeping the proper people informed as you go along, and making an honest effort to be a reasonable, sensible person in anything you say and you do. And it begins with being a good example. Parenthood and grandparenthood and great-grandparenthood is a teaching experience that there's no substitute for, I think. It's life lessons along the way, and we should apply those in everything we do. And town councilship is an excellent place to apply those lessons learned.
How would you handle a complaint from a citizen that a city employee was rude?
Well, like I tell you in the short version here, important thing is you listen twice as much as you talk, 2 ears versus 1 mouth. Find out the true facts of the situation, be present, be patient, and get give the appearance of what your real intent is, and their heart should be is, I want to get to the bottom of this problem. If it's legitimate, let's do something about it, but I need all the facts. I don't want a lot of side conversation that's unrelated or biased. You want to talk to the person like they're a real individual, find out what their concerns are, get as much of the facts on it, and then act on it. Talk to the appropriate people about what the next step should be, your peer groups, other town council people, the legal department, anybody that you trust to give you good advice, and then figure out a plan of action, keeping the citizen that you were talking to initially in the loop as far as is appropriate, so they know where they stand. Half the time when we have complaints, people get frustrated because they don't hear back from us. And they say, well, I talked to the right guy, but either they don't care or they're not doing something. And sometimes that's our fault, even though we're doing everything we can, procedural-wise and legal-wise. We do have to care, because we're all on this planet together. And what goes around comes around, my judgment, either now or sometime in the future. And that's my code of conduct.
What do you think is the most important issue facing the city council in the next 2 years?
Well, those are the two I put in here: traffic congestion and flow, and that we want to maintain Woodland as a viable community that people want to come to. Low crime, adequate combination of commercial facilities, shopping, the cleanliness of the street and the environment, so it's attractive, and so that the people that do live here are happy and want to stay. But more, even more important than that, I think cohesion as a group. Groupthink is always better than individual. Combined minds that are really trying hard to do the right thing usually can come up with a better solution if they give their best attentions and effort to it. And that's the function of a town council, in my judgment. And you guys have had a lot of challenges in the last couple of years. Got a whole book of the daily news reporting on what's going on here, and I consumed that in detail, and it's been a real challenge. You had an unusual couple of years in the past, so I have great sympathy for that. And I hope to be able to contribute in some small way that maybe draw upon the last 75 years of experience. Gee, I turn 76 here next month, Vietnam veteran, God, family, and country. Strong law enforcement survivor of many instances in the past. I was on the Skamania County Deputy Reserves Force for a number of years, living in Skamania, and we need to support our law enforcement people a lot. I think our professional code of conduct reflects not only our personality, but we as a community, what we can become together. I'm no professional psychologist. I 4 years in psychology, my bachelor's degree. My master's degree is in information technology. That's a little more technical. I can tell you a bit about that. But psychology is interesting. I had 4 years of study. It takes another 4 years to become a psychologist. So when we first met, my wife says, "What's your educational background?" And I said, "I got a bachelor's degree." She said, "That's 4 out of 8 years of study. Does that make you a half-assed psychologist?" And I said, "No, it's a start. It's a good thing. And we need to apply our lessons learned on what we're going to do in the future as a group." That's my philosophy.
If appointed, what would you like to accomplish over the next year?
Well, all the above items listed in number 9 in particular, and anything and everything that comes along of importance to the community. We need to head them off at the pass, rise to the challenges, attack difficult situations, discuss and think them out to the best of our ability. Who knows what tomorrow holds? We got some substantial traffic problems right now. And I'm up to speed on what you guys have been doing with the feds in the state and the current situation going over there and the challenges we've had in the past on it. That'll be around for a while. We do not want traffic in this town to become intolerable. And like I say again, maintaining the good, clean, wholesome small town environment with good law enforcement, low crime rates, and the livability is my goal.
Okay, number 11. How have you helped contribute to making Woodland a better community?
That's an ongoing process that never ends, I think, for all of us. We talk to each other, we listen. I've talked to lots of folks, anywhere from the barber to the checkout clerks at Safeway and at Walmart, and people that you bump into and strike up a conversation with them. And you'd be surprised what you can learn from a total stranger. Say, well, what do you think's going on here, And if you're honest and upfront with them, and show a genuine interest, I think you can get a lot of information that will help you understand not other people, but their needs. And that's part of our job. Try to do it on a daily basis, just as a matter of course.
I think the last one is what level of experience, what, 11?
No.
No, we're on 12?
We're on 12.
Okay.
12.
What level of experience do you have with Robert's Rule of Order or any other parliamentary procedure system?
Well, I put the word down extensive, only because I've been past president of a couple HOAs and I've been several boards. So now, while I'm not an expert, and I have read word for word the entire version 12, I remember 10% of it. But you guys, so I don't have a photographic memory, but the important things I do, I think I know the rules of engagement here from a procedural and conduct standpoint.
All right. Well, that was our last question. My last question for you, is there anything else we need to know or council needs to know before making a decision that wasn't shared with them? Is there anything else?
Attached to my written response to those is my resume. I hope that it speaks for itself. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time here, council folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Mr. Hall. Before we get started, there will be a series of questions coming from each of the council members, starting with Mr. Burke. There are 12 questions that you've been given, and I will give you number 13 when we're done. And with that, Mr. Burke.
Tell us about your previous public service to the Woodland community, and have you ever attended a council meeting before?
Actually, I moved here about 5 years ago after retiring. And so the bulk of my public service was over the 46 years I was in business. I worked in management and financial services. So I can give you a little rundown on things I've done. This is my public service is not in Woodland, but give you an idea of things I've done. I have been president of the Long Beach Merchants Association. I was also president of the Longview Rotary Club, early edition. I have been in other community service groups, and of course there are various work projects. I served on the foundation board of Lower Columbia College. I served on the board of the Longview Housing Authority. I served on the Housing Finance Committee of the Sweat Equity program at Lower Columbia Community Action Council. I also put together, I guess you'd say, and then managed the federal home program for the city of Longview. I created funding for Eagle Point Village in Cathlamet, Washington, and I oversaw its construction. I served as development director of the American Red Cross. That was for 5 counties, so it'd be Skamania, Clark, Cowlitz, Wahkiakum, and Pacific. And I served 2 terms on the Kelso City Council. And during that time I was on that council, we built a bridge over the Cowlitz River and the Burlington Northern Railway. We planned and designed a new city hall and police station. And we dealt with probably the largest landslide in American history at Aldercrest. And that was a huge FEMA project. For us at the city, of course, it was rebuilding all of our infrastructure. We lost sewer, water, underground utility, everything down the hill. There were 137 homes in that we had to condemn, and about half of those slid into the mud of the Cowayman River. So it's a huge project for local people and a huge project for FEMA. So that was the end of my time, actually. The 2 terms I served, I left that for employment reasons. I had changed employment, so had to resign at that time. Since I moved to Woodland, I've worked on the Make a Difference Day projects that we have here. But beyond that, mostly I fished the Lewis River.
Have you made any Woodland City Council meetings?
I've been to a few council meetings on Zoom.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I like Zoom, so I enjoy it. And I've been to, of course, several chamber meetings as well.
Okay.
So made a lot of good friends in Woodland.
So are there any issues that are of particular interest to you, and what do you hope to accomplish during this appointed term as a council member?
Well, I think a couple come to mind. The efficient production and distribution of potable water at a reasonable rate is an issue for any municipality, and we have some issues in that regard. So that's a concern. I'd hope to see some solutions there, and also some solutions with regard to traffic flow. We have some issues of safety and access egress through the city, and just some maintenance issues. So obviously there's a lot of other issues, but those come to mind.
City council members must attend numerous meetings and keep up with multiple issues. Council meetings typically start at 7 p.m. on the first and third Monday of each month, and committee meetings are prior to the city council meetings. They can start at as early as 5 to 6 p.m. Are you able to commit this amount of time and arrange your schedule to participate fully as a member of the city council? And if so, explain how you will handle the demands of the job.
Well, being retired, I don't punch any time clocks, and I tell everybody I'm not in a hurry because I get paid by the month. So probably the only thing that is going to get in the way of my fishing would be some of those committee meetings, but I think I can make that arrangement. So.
Do you intend to file for a council position in the next regular election?
Yeah, if I were appointed to this position, I would expect to file in the election in order to continue the work. So.
What is the role of an individual Woodland City Council member?
In a word, I would say balance. There are a number of interests, obviously, that come together in the city. You got residential property owners, commercial businesses, industrial growth, public safety issues, policing, fire and emergency services, traffic safety and flow, utilities, tourism, parks and recreation. It's a lot of different interests to balance, and I think that's the key job for you all and for whoever you select, to balance those various interests and move forward in a harmonious manner.
Do you have any experience in public financing or reviewing, implementing, or tracking budgets?
It would make your head spin. That's my whole life's work. That's what I did during my 46 years. That's my career.
Let's see. There are many situations where people disagree on issues. How do you handle disagreements and bring them to closure?
Well, again, I think the first thing is listening, careful, attentive, and interested listening to find out what's going on. Again, the big word is balance, trying to get all the interests addressed in the most harmonious way possible.
Okay. How would you handle a complaint from a citizen that a city employee was rude?
And I'm sure that goes both ways. Again, I think it's listening. That good problem solving, especially with people involved, begins with the listening. I've managed people that's most of my career, so that's just what you do. You listen and you get to the bottom of it, and you work with people, hopefully harmoniously.
What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years?
Well, I think first of all, it is the water issue's got to be resolved, and I think you're working on that. I think also the traffic flow, as I said, is an issue. But obviously, there's a lot of other things that are out there, and I think the council, through the various committees, that's how you get to it. You listen and you work and you move slowly through. I think it was Ben Franklin who said that our form of government, the representative republic, is the worst form of government there is, except for all the others, because it takes a lot of listening and a lot of working together.
If appointed, what would you like to accomplish over the next year?
Well, I would hope that reasonable people who love Woodland, and I think you all do or you wouldn't put in the hours, could work together to mitigate the problems. We're a little town with big growing pains, and I would love to see Woodland retain its small town Americana flavor. When I moved here, I picked Woodland. I could live anywhere I wanted to, and I specifically chose Woodland because it checked all the boxes on my list. And we want to keep that. But at the same time, we have to be level-headed about the fact that we are, by virtue of our location, we are in a area that has growing pains, and we're going to have to deal with them.
How have you helped to contribute to making Woodland a better community?
I try to be a good neighbor, and I do what I can to help folks. Actually, since I moved here, it's been 5 years of retirement, and I've enjoyed it. I love it. I love Woodland. It's my favorite place. I think I fell in love with it 20 years ago when Carol and I first met. But I haven't done too much since my retirement. Most of my community service has been in my career, but I've got a lot of experience in those areas.
What level of experience do you have with Robert's Rules of Order or another parliamentary procedure system?
Again, those things the Roberts Rules have been around. Well, it's what we used when I was vice president of the debate team in high school. That's been a while. They haven't changed much, and all of our public meetings, of course, are under Robert's Rules. It was in Kelso City Council, same as here. So.
All right, that concludes the questions from City
Okay.
Council. However, I do have one for you. Is there anything else that you failed to tell us or tell council on why you should be selected?
Again, I would say I don't envy your work. I know it's hard. I've done this work, but I do admire you for it. I know that you love Woodland or you wouldn't be doing it, and if I can help you, I'd be glad to help. So, I think that's all I need
right.
to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, man, you get to bring up the end one there. Welcome, thank you for being here. Right up to the podium. This is Mrs. Jennifer Ray Keene. Mrs. Ray Keene, we will be going through a series of questions this evening, which you've been provided. We will be doing a panel-style interview, beginning with Mr. Burke, and at the end of those 12 questions, I'll have the 13th one for you. All right, Mr. Burke.
Tell us about your previous public service to the Woodland community, and have you ever attended a council meeting?
Okay. Now that we got the giggles out of the way. For the city of Woodland, I served as a salary commission several years ago. It was a 1-year it was 4-year term, but we only had 1 year of meetings, I believe. And I believe I sat on that commission with you, Mr. Burke. And so that would be, I think, the one thing. Obviously, my day job requires me to be a public servant, but that's between 8 and 5, so not relevant to here.
Oh, are there any issues that are of particular interest to you, and what do you hope to accomplish during this appointed term as a council member?
I think this question is appropriate given that you have asked this, Ms. Holland. I am a geek for planning, so I think we're vastly opposite in what you've said in meetings before. I come from a long line in my career of doing planning, but I appreciate holistic planning at the best. I think when you look at economic development, it goes hand in hand with community development, infrastructure, transportation, all those issues. You have to look at that to improve your community. That improves your community assets like your nonprofits, your residents, your schools, our businesses. So I would say that's probably the one area I am most interested in is proper planning and looking at not kicking the can down the road for different issues that are facing the city today.
City council members must attend numerous meetings and keep up with multiple issues. Council meetings typically start at 7 p.m. on the first and third Monday of each month, and committee meetings are prior to the city council meetings, and they start between 5 and 6. Are you able to commit this amount of time and arrange your life schedule to participate fully as a member of the city council? And if so, explain how you will handle the demands of the job.
The short answer is yes. The long answer is to apply for this position, I probably had to do a couple little different things that other candidates probably didn't have to do, which was get the blessing of my elected officials, including my bosses, but also my husband, who is an elected official. So, it does take, partnership into your marriage to make sure that you can commit that time. As well as with my job to be able to commit that. So ensuring that I could attend those committee meetings, that I could be at the council meetings, that's usually not too difficult because I'm either online or in person for the meetings, have been for many years. But the committee meetings, we had to make sure that that did work within our life, and I can 100% guarantee yes. I will say, and I think for full honesty or transparency in this case, that I would have to miss one council meeting that I do know for this entire year because of my job, which was March 20th. I will be in Washington, D.C. For my job advocating for different projects for our community.
Okay, thank you.
Do you intend to file for a council position in the next regular election?
I find this question quite funny. I think, not to waste your time or any of the public's time, yes. But I think people are questioning my sanity of just doing this. But yes, I do intend to apply even if I am not selected.
role of an individual Woodland City Council member?
First is to be prepared for the meetings, read through the agenda packets, prepare your questions, be on time, attend all the meetings, committee meetings, listen to the public. But beyond that, the power of the individual council member is fairly limited until it reaches the entire body. Council members don't have any power outside of this body. They are just citizens.
Do you have any experience in public finance or reviewing, implementing, or tracking a budget?
Okay, so I'm going to start this going way back when I got my master's degree in public administration. I served 6 months working at the finance department of the city of Tigard, Oregon. And that's my first experience. You have to do 6 months in one field and 6 months in another field. My other field was economic development. So I got to put a budget together while I worked at the city of Tigard. And then, of course, with my day job, I have put together 8 successful budgets for the port.
There are many situations where people disagree on issues. How do you handle disagreements and bring them to closure?
There's 2 ways to do this, and I've learned this because of my day job, but also I have found that not everybody else always agrees with me. It's like a funny concept, but you have to listen to everybody. Everybody comes to things in a different way. I look at the world kind of like a chessboard, and you have to know all the moves, you have to know all the information to be able to make a decision of which way to go. So sometimes when you are getting that information, people will disagree with you, and it's okay to disagree. People sometimes can be hostile. They can spew horrible things and statements to you. They can make it personal. We know that. Facebook is a good example of it. We like to make fun of Voice of Woodland for some of those things, but it is true. You know, it's not a good reason to go low. You have to just take some of those punches. You put yourself in a role and you have to go with that. But you take in that information. Somebody may be saying something very negative about a project or something that's coming in front of the council. And you have to dissect it and find out what is the root issue that they are upset about. So if you were to take an example like the utility billing, is it that the billing is unclear, or is it they transparent? Is it that it's harming their budgets, or they couldn't go on a family vacation, or they just couldn't buy medication? What is it that is the real issue, so you can understand how to communicate back to that individual, as well as bring their issues to the body. So, and then sometimes people will agree with you, and that's great, and bring that acceptance as well.
Next.
You're next. You're number 8.
Yeah, I am. I was thinking I was waiting for you, but how would you handle a complaint from a citizen, a citizen that an employee was rude?
You get the information, and the role of the council person, I believe, is to give that information to the mayor or Administrator Boyce. And I think that is their role as the chief executive officer of the city, as well as the administrator of the city, that they understand what is going on. I would request that feedback or information is provided to me about how they may be communicating with that person, or, you know, hey, we've touched base with this person, just so that if they come at me again and say, hey, we didn't get any follow-up, that I know. But it is not the role of the council member to get into a complaint match with a citizen about that. Again, just get the information and pass it on.
Okay, thank you.
What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years?
Transportation and infrastructure. Everything has to deal with those two things. And it's not on a basic level, it's on a deeper level. So there's three things I always look at for the city government. Is it public safety, public health, or public infrastructure? Those are what really city governments were formed to do. And transportation, as we know, we have a huge issue that has been going on for decades. This is nothing new, but it's going to take serious planning to get this fixed. But it involves every aspect of our lives: how our children get to school, how we get to work, how we get to the grocery store, and how long we plan for that. Our public safety, so police getting to an active crime scene. If you think about ambulances, being able to get to somebody who has a loved one who needs medical attention. All of that involves transportation. Infrastructure, public health, that's a huge issue. You want to make sure you have clean drinking water, and you have those services come to your home or whatever residence and your businesses. And so those are the big things that I think that are going to take serious dollars and serious focus for the city to address.
If appointed, what would you like to accomplish over the next year?
I'll be the first to say government works really slow. And because of that, I don't know how much can be actually accomplished in 1 year. I think that because the comp plan is coming up, that focus on those issues I talked about, transportation and infrastructure, are going to be critical with the comp plan. So just getting that on the right foot probably is going to be what I think is one thing I could help with accomplishing. But it's not my accomplishment. It's the city's.
How have you helped contribute to making Woodland a better community?
So this question I thought about long and hard. There's two pet projects that are near and dear to my heart. One is, while I served as the Planners Day president, was doing the art contest with the kids and trying to get our students in our Woodland School District to get more involved in our community. And starting that contest up was really cool, and having the mayor work with us on that, as well as the superintendent and teachers. Just seeing some of the responses from students who got to see their artwork and shown at Planners Day, this was pretty cool. I would say the second one, oddly, that they both have to do with students, but is the career exploration. Bringing in businesses into our community to keep our kids here. The last thing that we ever want to see is our kids go off. We want them to move out, but we want them to be able to be employable and have good paying jobs, family wage jobs. And so bringing in our industries throughout the region was a real huge accomplishment. One of the things that I look at working with the school district in the 2 years we did it, our first year we had 40 businesses, our second year we had 72. Now, I find that the biggest accomplishment was that the Port of Kalama, who does the same event, they only had 20, so we beat them. And then when Kelso Longview did theirs, they had less than 70 at their last one. So, we have a lot of businesses that want to be here in Woodland, that want to support our kids. And so by showing those kids that there are jobs out there, means that kids like mine could possibly live here and have a job.
What level experience do you have with Robert's Rules of Order or another parliamentary procedure system?
We use Robert's Rules of Order for the port meetings, and then many of the community organizations I've been part of boards, chamber, Rotary, use Robert's Rules of Order in some level.
So you're fluent.
I would say I'm fluent, but not as much as past commission or council member Fredericks.
I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was our 12th question. The last question I have for you, is there anything else that you didn't share with us or any information on why you should be selected?
Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of insight about me. You can know me as the port director, but many of you don't know me as a person. I moved here to Woodland because I wanted to live here. My job does not require me to live anywhere. But I lived in Longview, and I was a single mom at the time and got this job, and it's a great job. But the community of Longview, it's a different community. And we were looking to start over our lives. I am a domestic violence survivor, and my kids have gone through a lot of stuff. And I wanted them to be part of a small community because I felt that was the way that we could be supported. And Woodland has become so supportive for me and my family. And that's why I feel like anything I can do to better this community, to leave a positive impact to them in this community, is my way of just thanking Woodland to giving us a chance to heal and become a better family, which allowed me to be a better director, to meet my husband, get married, and have a great life. And so I owe Woodland that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is with the heating and air?
All right, Mr. Houston, welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. We're going to go through a series of questions, interview panel, starting with Mr. Burke and all the way through all the 12 questions, each being asked by different council members. At the end, I'll have the 13th question for you before we send you back out. All right?
All right.
And with that, Mr. Burke.
Tell us about your previous public service to the Woodland community, and have you ever attended a council meeting before?
I have attended meetings. I don't think I've been to the last 3 or 4. And some of the things, me and my wife volunteer at our church a lot. We do a community garden that we started last year, hoping this year will help 200 families with vegetables and everything. We have a big garden over there that we do, and it's been a blessing. And we volunteer through the church a lot, and I've been a resident for 47 years in my entire life, so I've been here and seen it all for a while.
Are there any issues that are of particular interest to you, and what do you hope to accomplish during this appointed term as a council member?
What question number was that?
What's that, number 2?
Number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, growth and infrastructure are probably 2 of the biggest issues I'd like to be involved with. And getting, right now the people don't have a lot of trust, I should say, or faith with city administrators or officials. It's kind of divided, it seems. And I just want to get everyone to work together and represent the citizens of Woodland and actually get them involved, and not just everybody's saying you can do this, you can do that, fix the problem, but actually get involved in bringing people together.
City council members must attend numerous meetings and keep up with multiple issues. Council meetings typically start at 7 p.m. on the first and third Monday of each month, and committee meetings prior to the council meetings and can start as early as 5 to 6 p.m. Are you able to commit this amount of time and arrange your schedule to participate fully as a member of the city council? And if so, explain how you will handle the demands of the job.
Well, I have been, for the last 6 years, I've been working in Seattle, and I balance all my kids' sporting events and functions, so I'm able to do that while still being up there, working Monday through Thursday up there, but I come back during the week constantly to make it to games or any events that they have. So that's easy for me to juggle that into my schedule. I mean, I make time if I need to. So I don't see making the meetings being an issue for me at all. And I get off work early enough that like tonight, got off at 4 and I was here by 6 o'clock, so I'm used to the travel.
Do you intend to file for a council position in the next regular election?
Yeah, I had already, before there was even vacancies, I had intended on running for the position. So even if there wasn't vacancies, my intention was to run. Was my plan all along.
What is the role of an individual Woodland City Council member?
To represent the citizens and work with city officials to make our community a better place, to help balancing the budget and adapting, creating new ordinances, managing the infrastructure Woodland will need to keep up with the growth that we're going to see in the next few years. Just to make it an overall better place to live and to be someone the residents can come to with problems or ideas and help them any way you can.
Do you have any experience in public financing or reviewing, implementing, or tracking a budget?
Yeah, I was in real estate for 7 years, and I was involved with investors, and I managed projects. I did all the project managing, I was responsible for the budgets, the draw schedules with the bank, scheduling all the excavation, all the utilities, working with the county on permitting. I was involved in multiple short plats and land development, so I had a lot of experience working with the county, doing permitting. I had to do the budgets for the home builds, and I'm very familiar with it. And working in that underground excavation utilities for 12 years prior to that, I have a lot of experience in the public works end of it too.
There are many situations where people disagree on issues. How do you handle disagreements and bring them to closure?
It's okay for people to have different views on issues or opinions on certain things. It's finding the happy medium and how to balance the situation. It's very possible if you can come up with a common ground and ways to please both parties with a solution that works for everyone. Sometimes there will be people that aren't happy with the outcome, and as long as the residents are in the best interest and what will ultimately make the city a better place is the outcome that we should all hope for.
How would you handle a complaint from a citizen that was, that a city employee was rude?
I'm a strong believer in first going directly to the person where there's an issue and trying to find a solution before involving a ton of other people, which can create more problems than there needs to be, when something could easily be solved by going directly to that person and see what you can do to resolve the issue. If nothing could be resolved, then involve other parties and go different avenues to try to solve the problem. I don't believe in going behind someone's back. I think it makes it more complex and makes the situation harder to deal with, so yeah.
What do you think is the most important issue facing the city in the next 2 years?
Definitely, I think growth and our infrastructure. We have to find a balance with having the right infrastructure in place to handle the growth that we are going to see in the next few years. The growth, it's inevitable. We're going to see growth. We just need to have the right infrastructure and growth plan in place that will have the least effect on the traffic and how to balance overall development we just need to bring our city and the council together, because right now the residents don't have a lot of trust or a lot of faith in the council or in public works or the administrators. We need to create better working relationships between everyone.
If appointed, what would you like to accomplish over the next year?
Was that question 10?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to help try to fix the billing issue that we're having with the water and sewer, and come up with a plan to eliminate something like that happening in the future, and to help manage the growth and just make it a great place to live, and just find a balance with everything, so people don't have to go through the troubles they're having right now, especially with the billing problems we're having with utilities.
Okay, how have you helped contribute to making Woodland a better community?
What question was that?
11.
11, sorry. Getting out in the community and actually listening to people and the issues and things that people want to change, and that are important to them as a city, to get citizens involved with the decisions that will affect their lives, and educating them on things they're uncertain about.
And this is the last question. What level of experience do you have with Robert's Rules of Order or another parliamentary procedure system?
I've been in the elevator constructors union for the last 9 years, and it's the same rule system that we go by at our meetings. So I'm really very familiar with that system, and that's how the union makes their decisions, and our elections and our meetings are basically scheduled and ran the same way that our council meetings are. So it's very, very familiar to me.
All right, that was question 12. Question 13 for you this evening. Is there anything else that you would like to share with council on why you should be selected?
I've just been wanting to get involved for a long time, being born and raised here, and having all 6 of my kids go to school here and myself go to school here. So I've seen firsthand how everything is affected and the growth, and it's just really been that's why I wanted to get involved. I mean, that's ultimately why I moved back into town, so I could try to get on the council and try to become positive change for the city, and just make it a great place to live. I mean, it's such a great place to live. That's why I've never left. But we gotta come up with a balance and try to fix it and not be a divided community.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Houston.
Thank you.
That concludes the interview there, and you can have a seat here, and I'll grab everybody else. Y'all can come back in now. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening and for applying for the vacancy. At this time, the City Council of Woodland will be going into an executive session under RCW 42.30.110, Section 1, Subsection H, to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for appointment to elective office. The time is now 8:03, and we will return from our meeting at 8:18. That's 8:04. We'll return at 8:19. And do you want me to, I don't want to touch it. All right.
Recording stopped.
I'll take this.
The orange one.
Just the orange one.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
might be this. I didn't mute this.
I think I did it right. Oh, there we go.
It's something,
829 is that. That's what we found.
something over that direction.
Should be there, yeah. I thought it was gonna be there.
This is the worst part right here.
Oh, I should have kept that pad on.
I hate choosing something. I'd rather go with a hat. Yeah.
And just right
Like
there.
Janice or something.
Recording in progress.
All right, the time is 8:30 p.m. We are back in session. At this time, we are at the agenda at action item B, take nominations.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate Terry Hall.
I'll second it.
Motion on the floor for nominations for Mr. Terry Hall by Mr. Burke, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Mr. Burke.
I think he did very well at answering most of the questions. I think he's ready to jump into the seat with the experience. And that's it.
Mrs. Rounds.
I agree with Mr. Burke, but we have some very qualified people out here that have applied, and I do hope that we're going to be doing this again here in a week or so, so I hope that they step back up and try again. So,
Further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hogan, will you please take the roll? Nomination for Mr. Terry Hall. Go ahead.
Councilmember Dowdy,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Burke,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
aye.
The ayes have it, 5-0. The time is now 8:31. Before we end the meeting, thank you everyone for coming out this evening and going through this process, and thank you to our applicants. We do have another vacant position that is open, and that closes on March 3rd, and I encourage all of you to apply for that. And with that, we've come to the end of our meeting.
Move to end the meeting.
Moved by Councilmember Holland, second by
Second?
Councilmember Smith. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The time is 8:32.